Afternoon. Thank you for joining me, Jeani, here at the ACC Community Room for Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. I'm happy to announce we have one participant in class today. She's off camera, but I'm saying hello to her and welcoming you all back to today's Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. class. Today we're going to work on our shoulders and our hips. We're probably going to do some other things as usual, but I'm really trying to focus on getting some of the shoulders and the hips opened. If you've been doing a lot of activities in the garden, if you've been squatting a lot, if you've been lifting a lot of things, just being more active with the warmer weather, you might feel a little release with today's class. And I also wanted to kind of, before we start, remember to remind you, if at any point the practice is a little difficult for you, or if it's just not feeling right, you always have that freedom to stop where you are, go back, maybe even avoid the pose or that particular position at that point if it's not working for you. You can always meet in child's pose. You can rest in whatever laying down or standing position that's neutral that we begin with. So, and you can always jump back in when you're ready. That being said, let's go ahead and start at the back of the mat. And as we arrive, go ahead and turn on the music. Give yourself a moment to just notice how you feel. We'll stand at the back of the mat and giving yourself, I see some volume would be good too. Here we go. Just giving yourself a few seconds, few minutes to settle in. All righty. And as you notice the breath, notice how the mat feels under the mat, how the feet feel under the mat. Give yourself a moment or two. Standing at mountain, knees slightly bent. And then we'll begin to cultivate our breath. Feet together is a little more challenging. Keeping the feet about hips distance apart for now. Let's go ahead and bring our left palm to the heart, right palm underneath the belly button. Just slowly begin the process of observing the breath and the body for the next few breath cycles. As you inhale, you may feel the chest lift at the top of the inhale. And as you exhale, perhaps a little slower, gently press the bottom hand in towards the spine. Help expel that air at the bottom of the exhale. And as you become more acquainted with this focused breath, we'll finish cultivating our Ujjayi breath by bringing the sound of the ocean to the back of the throat. Okay, let's go ahead and release our hands to the side. Go ahead and pick up the toes, lift up the heels, and reset the base of your feet. We'll start bringing the body and breath together. With the next inhale, go ahead and stand just a little taller in your mountain, a little longer in the legs, feeling the energy lifting, reaching all the way up through the body, through to the crown of the head and beyond. On the exhale, the energy returns through the body, reverse direction, back through the feet, passing back to the earth. In the next inhale, go ahead and start rolling the center of gravity towards the toes, upright body to that edge. Stopping there before you tip over, we'll use the next breath to slowly roll the center of gravity at our feet towards the heels till we find that tipping point towards the back. Use the next couple of breaths for just that vertical mapping from heel to toe, toe to heel, and we'll return back to mountain, center of gravity somewhere at the top of the ankles. Inhale, nice and tall. Roll the weight towards the outer right edge. Inhale all the way back up. Exhale to the other side. Use this 3-part breath, or just inhale to one side and exhale to the other. Just find that horizontal mapping and return to center. As we return each time to our home position of mountain, you can always reset. Inhaling a little taller, a little longer. Let's go ahead and start making small circles at the ankles, radiating outwards to larger circles. And once you reach that perimeter edge, go ahead and stop, tighten in those circles, and return to center. Returning to mountain, go ahead and reset once more. Nice and tall, feel that energy lifting from the crown of the head, small circles in the opposite direction. Feeling as if you're like a marionette being lifted from the crown of the head and just circling until you find that perimeter and returning to home base once that's established. Let's go ahead and meet. And reestablishing our mountain once more. We'll go on with our slight swirl turn. So you can get your feet a little wider. Prepare as you start slowly swiveling from side to side. Just a little bit of momentum to begin with. Start gathering that, and as you find that your torso starts moving more towards the opposite side, you can lift your ball of the foot and start pivoting on the heel. We don't want to torque the knee. The knee should be in the same direction as the side that you're moving towards. And we're just getting some movement, gentle movement to the ankles, hips, and the shoulders if your arms are nice and relaxed to the sides. Maybe they'll just gently tap the sides of the body. And then we'll go ahead and return to center. Let the energy peter out. And go ahead, and if your mat started to buckle, we'll just straighten that out before we continue. Returning to our mountain position. Let's go ahead and move up to the shoulders. Lifting up the shoulders on the inhale. Exhale, roll them back and down. Use the ocean breath. See if you can help to facilitate release in the shoulders as you roll them up and back. Inhaling finds length on the up lift of the shoulders. And exhale finds release in the roll of the shoulders backwards and down. After 4 full breath cycles, we'll continue a second set. This time lifting up the shoulders, rolling forward on the exhale. Next 4 breath cycles, helping with that ocean breath to release anything in those tight shoulder blades across the tops of the shoulders and in the upper back. Okay, after we're done with our 4th, let's go ahead, reset our mountain, continue on up to the throat. Go ahead and lift all the way up through the crown of the head, and then exhale, let the right ear drop towards the right shoulder. Inhale to lift, exhale to release. Turn the gaze if you haven't already. A full 4 breath cycles here as well. Seeing if by the end of the 4th breath cycle, your eyes could rest to the rightmost of your vision. That ocean breath helping to facilitate the energy through the body. And after that last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the top of the head completely to the towards the ceiling. So all you have to do is exhale toward the left side. Right shoulder and left shoulder still in line. Using the breath, releasing on the exhale, turning the gaze. Giving yourself the 3 to 4 breath cycles here. Deep ocean-like breath cycles. Imagine you're on the waves on a calm ocean. And after the last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the head lifting towards the ceiling. So all you have to do is lower the gaze, landing at the top of the mat with that exhale. Inhaling and exhaling for the next 4 breath cycles, bringing length to the back of the neck. Space is still between the chin and the chest. And just using the ocean breath to help you release. Notice if the foundation of the feet have started to change. Keep equidistant support at the soles of the feet. Try not to roll out or in at the arches. When you're done with your very last breath, go ahead and inhale, the eyes back to the center, past the center point, and towards the ceiling. Stop when you can see the ceiling so you're not craning the back of the neck, and use the next 4 breaths. See if you can release stress, contraction, any type of extensive activation that hasn't found rest yet. We want that out of the mouth, the throat, the tongue. Keep the ocean breath there to help you facilitate this. When you're done, just let the eyes come back with your very last exhale and float back towards the midline. Here, we'll go ahead and shake out any residual tension in the feet. I have a tendency to grip the mat, so you can always just wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. Come up to the toes if you need to, lift the heels, and we'll go ahead and start our sun salutation modified. Beginning with our folds, bring the hands downward, energize them down as if you're reaching. And with the next inhale, we're just going to extend the arms upwards as we're still reaching. At the top of it, we're going to reach a little collar, and then exhale. Fold at the hips and start to hinge with a straight back. You can walk the hands down and give yourself a few seconds here to just float down, releasing through the back, the lower back, feeling that support from the hips all the way down to the heels. And you'll notice whether or not you're holding on to tension in the upper body. Are you holding on to the head? See if you can relax the head more. Let the arms dangle like wet noodles at the side. We've got a few more breath cycles here. You can shift the weight from one foot to the other just slightly. You can bend one knee, then bend the other. Returning to your folded position here, and keep a bend to the knees. Greater the bend, the more tightness you have. And then we'll go ahead and prepare to do a slow roll up, pressing into the feet, engaging the hands if we need to. We're going to slowly straighten up the spine, walking the hands up if we need. Last thing to stack on top of the neck is the head, palms facing forward. Give yourself a moment to breathe. And with the next breath, let's go ahead and put our hands down, reaching downward. A little shorter time this time for our fold. Inhale, hands go up. Exhale, fold. Come on down with the straight back. Walk the hands down or float all the way down to your second fold. Here we're staying only about 3 breath cycles this time. It's a little shorter, but give yourself any movement needed. You can lift the toes, you can roll the weight at the soles of the feet, making sure you come back to that home position of heels and over the ankles, being more of that center of gravity, that column of support. With the next inhale, we're going to go ahead and press into the feet, engage the core, firm up the legs, and slowly start to roll up or come up with a straight back. Inhaling, come on up, hands meet above the head. And exhale, bring the hands down, heart center. Relaxed elbows at the side. We'll begin our modified walking meditation. Inhale, lift the right foot, press into the hands and your core if you need, and exhale the right foot down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale, left foot down. Pressing into the palms, engaging the core to help keep the balance. 1 breath cycle per step. And at the top of the mat, we'll meet in mountain. Looking down at the fingertips, press into the palms. Inhale, watch the fingertips rise. Exhale, separate the palms, hinge at the hips, engage the core, and fold. At this fold, fully relaxed, exhaled. Let's go ahead and inhale. Half lift. We're just lengthening through the back, straightening through the legs best that we can. And wherever your hands make contact, if they're the floor, if it's your feet, if it's the shins, maybe it's the forearms on the thighs, just give that nice length. And giving a little bit of pressure to that point of contact at the hands can help you lengthen through the back. Keeping the knees bent if you need. Exhale, let's fold. Bring the hands to either side of the feet. Step 1 foot or many steps back. The feet to the back of the mat. And the hands, the shoulders over the hands. Bring the knees down. Untuck the toes. And let's go ahead and lift up the hips. And exhale. Bring the hips back for your first down dog. Go ahead and spend about 5 breath cycles here. We're going to bend one knee, straighten and then bend the other. Your heels may be lifted, they may be on the mat. Wherever you are, you're working towards the mat, but we're not forcing anything. So bringing the heels down closer towards the mat on the exhale helps. And inhaling, finding length. Extending through the arms, extending through the legs, keeping the bend if you need. One more deep inhale. Let's look to the hands, and then we're going to bend the knees if you need. Walk the hands to the back of the mat, to the fold. Fully exhaled here. Let's inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, engage the core, press into the feet. And come on up, your choice. Slow roll up or straight back. Inhaling all the way back, hands up. And then hands down, heart center with the exhale. Inhale, second round of our sun A's. Lift the right foot, exhale the right foot down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale, left foot down. Inhale, right foot up. Exhale, left foot down. And at the top of the mat, we'll meet. Looking down at the fingertips. Inhale, watch the fingertips rise. Exhale, separate the palms and hinge for your fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bring your hands to the mat and start to walk the feet back. Exhaling. Inhale, the shoulders over the wrists, and long, strong, high plank. 3 breath cycles here. One more inhale, one more exhale, and then bring the knees down. Just a moment, untuck the toes. Tuck the toes once more, lift up the hips, and exhale, press them back towards your second down dog. We're only staying here for about 3 breath cycles today. Right now. So give yourself a moment, just check in, give your roll to the tips of the toes if that feels good, lowering the heels as is available to you. And remember, we're bringing our hands and our feet downward with energy as we're lifting up towards the ceiling with our hips. One more deep inhale and exhale. Let's walk the hands to the back of the mat to our fold. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold again. And inhale, we're going to come on back, your choice. Slow roll up or all the way back up with a straight back. Exhaling hands, down heart center, and finally down to the side. Give yourself a moment or two. The blood rushes back to the head. You can hopefully feel your heartbeat. All right, it's a little bit of the inner furnace being worked there, so you might feel a little warmer. Go ahead and get a little bit of water. Our next position is just going to be a kind of wide forward fold. It's a little balanced, and it's going to bring us into the goddess squat. So if you have a goddess squat that's needing the blocks, bring them on over. You might even benefit from having them as you go down. So bringing them near your hands is very key. I'm going to turn to the side just so that you have a visual of how to fold over in this perspective, but as well in this perspective. So we'll start off this way first. Bringing the blocks nearby or keeping them in your hands if you know that folding forward you have to have some distance met by bringing these blocks to the hands. If you're able to fold completely down and bring the hands down, you may not need these blocks in your hands as we begin. So, standing in our mountain, we're usually about hips distance apart with our feet. We're just going to go a little wider with our wide-legged stance, just a little bit. And what we also want to do is kind of pivot in our heels, because we are going to go into a goddess squat. So coming here, some of us might have a really wide stance. That's really wide. If your hips are open, that's great. If you have tight hips, you're going to probably not want to be any wider than your normal hips distance. So keep that in mind. Feel out that first point of this wide-legged forward fold. If you're comfortable here, if it's not feeling too tight, then this is a good place to start. If you need these in your hands, you're going to keep them at the sides. We're going to inhale deeply. Otherwise, you can take a hold of your hip bones instead. So you can either start with the blocks in your hands or your hands on the hips. Inhaling, we're going to feel that length from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. And pulling down, pushing down on the hips kind of helps you feel that length in the spine. Notice your knees, whether or not they're hyperextended or not. And also the toes should be out just slightly. I'm sorry, I think I changed my stance, but we do need the heels slightly pivoted in and the toes slightly pivoted out. And if you're here, we're going to start with that tall back. We're going to inhale, length, and then exhale. Engage the core and start to hinge at the hips as you normally do when you fold. And here, if you have those blocks and you need that distance met, you're leading with the chest. You stop hinging once your back, once your hips stop hinging. We're not going to curl at the upper shoulders. So you might be here. You might be a little lower down. It just depends. You might have to change the settings of your blocks. You may have a deep bend to the knees. Wherever you are, all we're trying to do is keep the legs somewhat long without hyperextending our knees. You can keep a micro bend to the knees and lengthening so we can fold with a wide-legged stance. Now, it's going to look a little different on this side, but we still want the hips over this center point here. If you're finding this stance between your feet is just a little too wide, you can always bring the feet in a little closer. And again, we want the heels in a little closer, toes pivoted outward just slightly. And we're eventually just bringing the fold into the mix. Some of us are a little more flexible. Some of us are a little more stiff. Some days you might just be more stiff or more flexible. It just depends. So see how your body is feeling in this pose. And just like when we're in our forward fold, we're trying to release through the upper body. We don't want to hold on to the head. Notice how the neck has to engage if you look farther above. So we really want to keep the gaze soft. We are trying to bring the crown of the head closer towards the mat as we're able to keep our balance. So some of that might be a little different. Some of us might be helped with these nice blocks. And as we start to come out, we're going to press into the arms, start to extend through the arms, bring the heels in just a little closer. And we may have to bring the stance between the feet a little closer. And I'm going to turn to the side to let you see what this looks like. And as we come out, we're going to start moving towards the ball of the feet and start bringing the knees downward. So if you can squat, you're going to bring the heels all the way to the hips, all the way down to the heels. Or you're going to have some version, hopefully, where you can do that in keeping the heels inward. As you get closer to the ground, you may need to have more of the distance between the feet less. You might have to shorten that distance between the feet. All right, so once we're in our squat, let's go ahead and bring the knees down, untuck the toes, and then start to walk the hips downwards. You can bring the left knee and the right knee in together, and we'll just come into our hero pose from there. And if you are someone who likes something between the hips and the heels, this is a great place to put the blocks as well. And as we come into our hero pose, bringing yourself a little bit of time, you can have your hands out in front, helping you manage the amount of weight that's brought onto the heels. Hips can be elevated by the blocks as well to help you. If your hero does not require the blocks, you can tuck your toes. You're spending about 2 to 5 breath cycles from that comfort point, from that edge where you can breathe with steadiness and ease. You don't want to hold your breath. So if this is too much, you can always adjust. You can always come out of it. If you're doing just fine and you just like couple more breath cycles here, you can keep upright and just allow the spine, the torso to rest in your hero. Palms on the thighs or palms up. Two more deep breaths. And then we'll go ahead and bring the hands down to the sides and walk the hips upward. Let's go ahead and separate the feet. Bring your block in between the feet, and you can bring the knees a little closer if you'd like. But again, we're going to sit back. We may be sitting on the block, but we're sitting now in our fixed fern position where the hips are not on the heels, but they're in between the heels or working towards that point. And the block can really help us there. If we need that distance met, maybe your tailbone can just catch the edge of the block and you can sit and rest. Maybe the flat of it is easier for you to sit on. And eventually, with that internal rotation of the thighs, we're just getting a little more space in these tight hips, knees, and ankles. 1, 2 more breaths. We'll bring the hands down to the sides once more, lifting up on the heels. You can come up to your fists, balled fists, and kind of gorilla walk your fists up. Bring the heels together. And we're going to come over to our side and meet in a bridge position. So if you like to come into a bridge position in a specific way, feel free. I'm just going to bring my hips over and roll, get a nice little massage on the glutes. Just roll from side to side slightly, bringing ourselves into position. And since we're moving on to our back, if you have a bony sacrum, I know I do, sometimes having that folded blanket will help with any boniness issues. And bringing that there, let's go ahead and meet in our bridge position. Coming down from an upright position, I just like to bring one elbow down at a time. Making sure I'm on this blanket where perhaps my head is off the edge. Some people like to have their neck supported by the blanket, so depending on how thick your blanket is, perhaps your neck can find that support there too. So in our bridge position, we're finding knees and hips are about, knees and feet are about hips distance apart. Reach down with your fingertips. You might be able to brush your heels, but they don't need to be up against your backside. And for our moment in bridge right now, just give your hands a little bit of space off to the side, palms down, and we're just going to let the knees sort of gently float to one side, just rolling on the edge of your feet. Don't move the position of your feet, just roll onto the edge of your feet. My knees are rolled to the left, my feet are rolled to the left side of my feet. Let's go ahead. Inhale, press into the hands, the shoulders. Make sure that sacrum is sticking to the floor and bringing the knees up. Exhale over to the other side. Just let your feet roll to the other side. And you might have highly lifted knees. That's okay. Again, it just kind of reflects what's going on in the hips, knees, ankles. Tightness just might change over time, maybe even within the practice. Take another inhale, press into the arms, shoulders, and bring the knees back up to center. And reposition your bridge if it just changed in the transition. And we'll prepare to move into our figure 4. So here, we'll go ahead, and if you need a strap, get your strap. If you are able to, where is my strap? If you're able to get a hold of your foot without the strap, that's where we're moving. We're just going to lift the right foot and start to bring it over. We're externally rotating this right hip before we can land the right ankle. And for some of us, we may not have that contact, and that's okay. We're just working towards externally rotating and bringing maybe perhaps the heel to land on top of the knee, just gently resting there. We're going to work on externally rotating, opening this right hip and staying, within this range. If you're not able to sit comfortably here, just rest on the back. Anyhow, once we're in our figure 4, notice where the knee is. If your knee is buckling inward towards the chest, we're just going to slowly breathe. See if giving ourselves that time and space to open up allows the sacrum to fully relax on the back, on the mat while you're on your back. And for this right knee to not wing inward towards the chest, but to start looking more like the top portion of a 4, number 4. So we're not going to push the knee, but we might just gently place our hand there just as a reminder. And sometimes the body is really tight and just needs a little time to open, to flower. So give yourself that time. And if it's feeling good here, you can roll your ankles slightly, you can wiggle the toes. We're trying to go for that nice figure 4, modified, just in this base bridge position. And then let's bring those blocks out to the side. That windshield wipe that we did just moments before, we can do that again in our figure 4. However, we're not going too far, so bring these blocks on the highest setting near your thighs. And it's my right foot that's lifted, so we're going to be windshield wiping to the left so that your foot lands on this block. So if you're on the opposite side for some reason, just make sure you have a block that you can land on. So inhaling, exhaling, let's go ahead and just slowly roll to the left side. Our right foot may make contact, it may not. If it does, that block is there nice and handy. If not, you may need to use your hands to help just support this right foot. or maybe you just enjoy having it dangle there. Feeling a little bit of stretch to the right glute, some to this to the abdominals on the side here, and lower back. Taking the time to breathe and use your ocean breath to help facilitate the release here. And if you have to come out earlier, you're quite welcome to. You can always meet us for the next side. One more breath. One more exhale here. And then to come back, we're going to inhale. Bring the knees, help to bring the knees back up to center, rolling back onto the sacrum. For many of us, we didn't roll too far, not unless you have a great deal of flexibility. So it's just not too far. With this said, we're going to inhale, lift the right foot, and before we move it down, we're just going to exhale, turn that hip inward so that we can internally rotate the hip and safely land the right foot with the leg in place and not hyper rotated outward. All right, now giving ourselves that moment to realign the spine and the neck, just in case it just shifted in that transition. And if we're good there, our base bridge is good, we'll go ahead and do one more windshield wipe, making sure our blocks are not in the way here. Hands are down, palms down, off to the side, and just give yourself a nice gentle windshield wipe on either side, just to reset. We'll come back up here. Hopefully we didn't lose our bridge. And now it's the left leg. We'll go ahead and inhale, bring the strap onto the ball of the foot and get yourself lifting the left foot and then externally rotating the left hip before you attempt to land it. Just give yourself a little bit more of an open beginning position so we can find that resting spot for the left ankle without potential injury to the left if you have a tight hip. So here we're just giving ourselves, again, about 3 to 5 breath cycles to find our edge. We may find that as we're bringing this left ankle now to rest on the right knee, that if we can't, we're using the strap to just keep that external rotation of the left hip opening and keeping this honest. We're just gently holding it. We might need to hold with our hand the heel, help it eventually find its way to the right knee. If you're there, go ahead and just keep with this position. If you're good and would like to go a little farther, and this is where we're going to do our deep windshield wipe onto the right side with our left leg. So giving ourselves just some time, making sure this left knee is not winging in towards the chest, making sure our sacrum, our lower back, that back of the pelvis is nice and flat, not rolling up. And just take some time to find that edge. Once we're there, make sure you've got even distribution of weight on that right flat foot. That's the sole of the foot, the foundation, and your blocks. Somewhere landing on that side. So we'll go ahead and inhale, lengthening, finding length, and then exhale. Slowly start to windshield wipe over to the other side. Roll over. And you may find that block in the right spot. You may just want the benefit of gravity to help your foot in the air. Eventually, you find that resting point with ease and comfort. If it's too much for you, you can tell because you'll hold your breath. And we basically want to be able to engage the pose and breathe. Once you're there, breathing 3 to 5 more breaths. And again, modifying any support that you need adding the help, the support of your hands if you need. Or just letting yourself go and finding that release. As you approach your last breath, bringing the hands to help the knee, thigh, both thighs roll back onto the mat. Sacrum should be nice and flat on the mat. Once you're stabilized there, go ahead and lift the left ankle off. Internally rotate the left hip before you land the left foot. Keeping our base bridge position. Make sure your left foot and right foot are hopefully aligned, not too far from your bottom. Again, bless you. And we will just gently roll windshield wipe from side to side once more. Now we're hopefully a little longer, feeling a little more flexible and released, so you don't have to be as slow unless you want to. And once you found that counter stretch, that nice resetting with the faster frequency of the windshield wipe, we'll go ahead and bring the legs down. Now, one leg at a time. Since we haven't really extended the legs and kept our hips flat yet, usually we go down to our bellies to do that. We're going to give ourselves some time. Notice if your left hip, if the hip of the leg that you just lengthened, if that's tented or not. It's really tight then, you just need to give yourself some breathing space. Inhale, extend through the left heel, extend that leg, and then exhale, relax. Hopefully it brings the left leg long and the left calf closer to the mat. Go ahead and do the same with the right leg when you're ready. Inhale, let the right leg long, feel where the extent of the tightness might be, or maybe there's none. Maybe your right leg just lands comfortably long on that mat. But give yourself the exploration time that you need, 3 to 5 breaths to find that. See if you're highly lifted in that lumbar area. Do you feel there's a lot of pressure there? You may need to have the knees slightly bent. Once you're long with both legs, you can start rolling. You can tap out the knees gently. You can extend the arms above your head if that's comfortable, or out to the side. Give yourself a nice stretch and then bring the arms down to the side once more. We're going to go ahead and bring the feet, the soles of the feet, onto the mat. And now roll your body to a fetal position to the side. You may need to slowly roll over your right hip. If you have a bony hip, that top of your femur really bony that you can feel, and rolling on it hurts, then lift up a little bit before you roll, just to avoid it. And then you can bring out your arm, or you can just bring it out to the side. Just depends on the opening of your shoulder. And move slowly back onto the mat if you rolled off, and we'll meet on our belly. It's a little different this time, but here we are. Let's see how we're doing with time. We're going to end our cooling down positions with our locust. Now, taking off glasses if you need. Make sure any skin, any pinched ribs, anything like that is flattened out. And give yourself a moment on the belly. It should feel good, but probably not as tight as we usually feel when we first come down, because we had a little bit of time to extend through the hips while we were on our back. So now that we're on our belly, go ahead and roll just a little bit from side to side on the hips. Feet can be a little wider than your hips distance apart, but you want to allow the tops of your feet to rest on the mat if you can. If that just is too much for you, you can always just have the tips of the toes on there, but try to get the tops of the feet if you can. Try not to let the knees receive too much pressure. It's all a little about just how to lengthen and feel. So the next thing is we're going to start bringing our hands to about the shoulders and then walk the fingers together so that the back of the fingers are placed one on top of the other and your brow is supported by the fingers. Now, if that's okay for your shoulders, we're going to stay here. If it's not, then you can always bring your face to kind of smush with the nose and the chin and bring the hands out just a little farther down so that your elbows are not quite as high above the shoulders. Maybe your elbows need to be a little lower. Wherever you are, find that nice, comfortable spot where you can keep your arms up here. And all we're going to do is with the next breath is extend through the left leg, slide that leg down the mat. Keep contact with the floor or the mat. And you're just maybe gently pointing through that left toe, left foot. See if your left knee can lift just slightly. You're just extending the leg. You're not hyperextending your knee. You're just lengthening the leg. And typically that means your kneecap lifts. Notice if your right leg is helping to lift this, to extend the left leg. Shake the right leg and keep the activation in the left leg. And then release the left leg. Hopefully you felt the activation from the point of the toes all the way up the leg to the glute. You're going to extend down and just engage everything from the toe, the ankle, the calf, thigh, and to the glute. We'll do the same thing with the other side. So with the next inhale, go ahead and start pointing, lengthening, activating the right leg. Hopefully by the end of your inhale, your right glute all the way down and all the muscles all the way down to the toes are engaged so that you have a nice long, lengthy leg. Keep it there for a breath or two and then release. Let that leg go. You can always shake out the hips, shake out the legs, see if you're still holding on to activation in the leg muscles somewhere. Try to relax them. Now with the next inhale, we're going to just bring the arms down to our sides. The palms are going to face up. And maybe bring the hands out about 6 inches or so. If you have a locus where you're able to, say, bring the arms all the way out to a T, then go ahead and do that. But if not, it might be more comfortable to bring them out only about 15, 30, 40 degrees off away from the body. So here we are again. We're on our belly, bringing the face to kind of gently relax on the mat. We're going to inhale, extend through the arms as well as the legs this time. Point your fingers, keep them together. Just slide the arms and the legs down the mat. Keeping them active. See if you can get the legs nice and long until your glutes are engaged, all the way from the glutes to the toes. Same thing with the shoulders, from the shoulders to the fingers, one long line. Your arms are one unit, your legs are one unit. Take one more inhale, one more exhale, and then inhale. See if you can slightly lift the hands, hover the hands and the feet, pressing into the belly and the chest. Face is down, and then exhale, bring the feet and the hands down. Go ahead and turn your face to the side and bring the arms down. Let the backs of the hands release. Melt into the mat. Take one more inhale, press into the chest, and turn the gaze slowly to the other side. Let the other cheek rest. All right. And then we're going to inhale once more and come on to your back. We're preparing for Savasana, and if you have a favorite way to do that, go ahead and meet on your back. I'm going to lift my arm and just roll on over to my back and just gently slowly inch the shoulders and then alternately the hips a little bit at a time until I'm back on the mat. Then I will be rolling back, sitting upright while you lay down and get comfortable on the back. Giving yourself time to cover the body if you're cold in your room, or just relax. Allow the feet to be together or just to allow them to roll away. You can have the legs a little farther apart and just relax them. Let the toes and the heels roll away. And as you're laying down on your back, your palms will be up. Let the hands just relax. The fingers should just naturally curl. And in the next 5 minutes, allow the body to respond to today's practice by just letting go, one layer at a time. And when you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken. bringing the mind back to the body. Take note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. Notice how the air enters the body. Notice how it exits the body. And as you reconnect to the body once more, you can wiggle your fingers, toes. You can rock from side to side. We'll be meeting in a staff position to finish our class with our breathing exercise. Keeping our staff position, I'm going to come out to the side here so you get a side angle view. Oop, let's do it this way. In our staff position, we want to have somewhat of this 90-degree angle. We're working towards having the upright position in an even distribution of weight on these sits bones. So give yourself a rock from side to side, from one sit bone to the other. Find what feels like center to you. And then once you do that, go ahead and get the hips between the hands like that and kind of rock your pelvis forward and back. Rocking them forward, your tailbone kind of sticks outward. Rocking the hips back, your tailbone tucks. And that's kind of what we want to have, is this neutral point where we're not tucking under or tucking out the tailbone, but we're just sitting straight on top of the tailbone and hopefully feeling the chest lift up as a result. If you're pitched forward slightly like that, try to find that length up through the crown of the head and lift upwards, and then bring the spine to sit upright into this 90-degree angle. And once you can do that, we'll go ahead and finish with our feet about hips distance apart here. Go ahead and start to bend both knees, and we're going to come into a slight butterfly. Bringing your blocks to either side, high up. Hello, I know that block is there. And we're just going to breathe, helping us to exhale as we fold forward, hinging from the hips. So helping to bring the feet together and using the blocks to help find that support here. We're going to sit upright just a little taller, so you might need to lift up, but sit upright and inhaling, hands out to the side, palms up, then hands up above. And then exhale. You can bring the palms forward and start to hinge forward until you stop. And then curve the upper back. Let the hands land inside your diamond here. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, walk the hands up, lengthen through the spine. Bring the hands out to the side. Exhale, feel the core engage, bringing down that rooting feeling at the core. And then inhale, hands back up. Hands forward, exhale, start to hinge at the hips. And when you stop hinging, then bring the hands down, let the back curve forward, relax the shoulders, fully exhale, draw the belly button in towards the spine. Inhale, start to lengthen the spine, walking the hands up towards the hips, out to the side, lengthening up here. Exhaling, feeling rooted. Bend the elbows, feel yourself just sit and root back down. Hands off to the side, palms up. One last time, inhale up. Palms forward, exhale, start to hinge forward. And when you stop hinging, then bring the hands down. Start to curve the top of the shoulders, fully exhaled here. Carve out the belly, bring the belly button in towards the spine, fully exhaled here. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, extend through the hands, walk the hands up, bring them out to the side, lift up, and then exhale, come on back to your seated position. We'll go ahead and remove the blocks. Let the hands gently guide as you bring the soles back onto the mat, and we'll go ahead and bring the legs back into our staff position. Tapping out the knees. I'm going to turn to the side and bringing hands to heart position. Thank you so much for joining me, Jeani, here at the ACC Community Room for Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. Namaste. everybody.
Thank you.
Drink water. Don't forget to drink
Thank
water.
you.
Bye. Yay!
Bye.